Welcome everyone to the Two-Sided Truth, where we defend it, we debate it, and you decide. I am Lisa Tracy, your host and moderator. Hello to all of my truthers out here. I am so excited that you all decided to join us this evening. This is a podcast where the facts are presented and you decide the winner. Our sponsors for this evening's debate is the Flipside with Lisa Tracy and Shy High Apparel. I'm so excited that you decided to join us this evening. Tonight, we have two debaters with opposing views debating on the future of work. Arguing the position of pro-degree hiring is James Manning, and arguing the position of pro-skill-based hiring is Geoff Watts. So here are the rules of engagement. Our debaters have 3 subtopics they are debating. Each subtopic is 8 minutes, right? So with 8 minutes, the debaters, they are going to lay out their topic, their argument, and then they'll have a chance to counter. And before we move to the next subtopic, I will answer some questions. So the basis is they'll both have a chance to lay out their facts and respond before moving to the next subtopics. So the whole purpose of this is, to our listening audience, we definitely want to present the facts to you, and we definitely want this to be exciting. But one of the ways that you're able to participate is by voting and by commenting. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. However, you can only cast your vote on the twosidedtruth.com website. So at the end of this debate, we will have a winner because you would have voted. Since this is a respectable debate, we're also asking respectful with your comments as well. Our debaters try really, really hard to put things together, so we definitely want to respect them. It's okay to be passionate about the debate, but we definitely want to be respectful. So let's begin. All right, so like I said before, we have 2 debaters. We have James Manning, and then we also have Geoffrey Watts. James, please introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good evening, Lisa. Thank you for having me here. Looking forward to this debate. James Manning, I am a trainer for Miller Welding Automation. I've been a trainer for 14 years. We produce and sell all different types of welding robots and cobots. If you're into welding, then you know SubArc and TIG, MIG, and all of the rest. So that's what we do, but we deal with the robot side of it. But for the most part, I've been in manufacturing my entire adult life. I worked with Siemens Automation. I was a trainer for Siemens Automation for motor control centers for a while. I've worked at DeVry University, Kendall College, and so basically I've been writing curriculum, doing training for about 30 years now.
Thank you so much, James. We also have Geoff Watts. Geoff, introduce yourself and tell the viewers a little bit about you.
How you all doing out there? First, giving honor to God, and also to my wife. I got the best wife on the planet. Can't leave
All
her out.
right.
But I wanted to let you all know I'm a job developer. I've been doing job development for 19 years. I help place people for work. I deal with a multitude of employers, and I started out doing job development from doing poetry on the trains, believe it or not. And then from there, people told others that I had the ability to help place felons for work. So I worked with felons first before I did anything. And as the years progressed, people found out my reputation. I was multifaceted. I could place just about anybody. So I'm looking forward to the debate. A very adequate person to debate against, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, as stated previously, the name of this debate is the future of work. So, before we dive into our debate, let me just give a historical context and statistical information here. So, In 1970, I know we're in 2025, 2026 now, excuse me. But in 1970, fewer than 11% of Americans had a four-year degree. Today, it is over 38%. Since 1980, college tuition has increased over 200%, far outpacing uh, inflation and wage growth. Roughly 40% of recent graduates are underemployed, working in jobs that do not require a degree. Employers report spending significant retraining costs on new graduates despite degree completion. Degrees used to signal scarcity and rigor. Today, they signal persistence, but not necessarily job readiness. So the first subtopic for today is, are four-year degrees still the best signal of job readiness? And with that said, we're going to start the first topic. And James, we're off to you. Are
Okay.
four-year degrees still the best signal of job readiness? The polls are open.
Okay. So is the right degree? I think that's the question here, because the thing that we've sold over the last couple of decades is that you get the degree and that's your pathway forward and everything is golden. Is the, but the problem that we have is that there's a misalignment, and it's happening in all different aspects of the industry. We have this misalignment where the type of degrees and what the job are looking for, they're not aligned. And so that's where the problem is. And so what people are doing is that they're selecting the wrong degree. For people who select the right degree, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, when we get to the AI debate, that's going to be a question, right? Because the knowledge, when we talk about what's going to happen with knowledge workers with AI, that's going to be a problem, because how do you select that right degree? But there is a right degree to select. And I think if you select the right path and the right degree, and you have the understanding that the degree, certificates, whatever it is, those are your initiators. That is more than likely you are not going to end up, whatever degree you get, by the time it's done, by the time you finish your career, you will have had 3 or 4 careers. Okay. And this is for somebody that's been around for some odd years. I've been training, but I've been in every industry imaginable. And so I think that's the first part, is that we are asking, is the degree okay? But we have to talk about the right degree, because getting if for kids, when I came out of college, what would happen is that I had room to explore. I could take different courses. It didn't cost much, $120. Yeah, I can take several classes until I found my footing. With the cost of school now, you can't do that. And so what kids are doing is that they're being asked to declare a they're being asked to declare their degree, whatever path they want, at their freshman year, and that's too soon. And so they'll go in, they'll say, okay, I'm going to be an architect. And then they get 2 years in, they realize, it's like, I hate architecture. I want to go do something else. But you're $40,000 in. And so I believe what we've done is that we've set kids up to fail, because the schools have priced pretty much a lot of kids out of it. The jobs that they're going into, they're misaligned with the degrees that they're getting. And I think that's the problem. And I think if we look at it that way, if you select the right degree, I believe the degree pathway does offer more flexibility going forward, especially in an economy that changes as fast as it is now. There's more flexibility there. But I do think that this idea that you can get a piece of paper and it be successful, I think that narrative is the one that has to go away. We have to get rid of that narrative. If that's the narrative, I think we're going to be continually to set kids up to fail with these degrees.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Jeff, lay out your
There
argument.
are, yeah. Number one, I appreciate what James put forth, because I agree with him to some extent, because the reason why I would have the advocacy for 4-year degrees not actually showing how much you're job ready. There's an old adage. It is you can prove that you can do the homework to get the diploma, but the diploma can't walk through the door on time. So, you have a thing where people have to use cognitive skills. They have to be skills based. They have to be good thinkers. They have to have workplace etiquette. There are a whole lot of different things that come along with being job ready. When you talk about job readiness, that's why many times you have these workforce programs or you have job readiness programs, because that's the first step into getting somebody acclimated and to be able to even work in the workplace. So a 4-year degree does not guarantee that those things are going to walk through the door. When you get somebody who has accomplished their achievement of 4 years, you can have that same individual who does not have a 4-year degree and they have the best common sense in the world, can literally run the whole place, and they are non-degreed. So there has to be new criteria. We've been running on, as you said, since 1970, we've been running off the same criteria for
Mhm.
over almost 60 years, and it's just, we need to change that paradigm and be able to be more skills based, because that's what the future holds for us. I did want to mention, before I went, any further, that there are some sources that I used for this particular debate. And I just want to make sure that is the World Economic Forum,
Mhm.
Forrester, Goldman and Sachs, OECD, and also McKinsey Global Institute are, some of the people that I peruse to be able to come forth with the facts for today. So I just want people to know, James and I, we've done our research. You best believe it,
Awesome.
and we don't want anybody to think that we just up here winging it, because we're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Absolutely. This is what they
Yeah.
do. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Geoff. Would you like to counter, James?
No, I think when you talk about job readiness, and and this goes to the point of when I talk with companies, because what I do for a living, companies come to me and I train them to use our robots, and I get the question all the time. It's like, well, we can't find welders, and we what do we do? And the problem that many companies have is that they don't have really a workforce development strategy. What they have is we put this sign on the door that says, "Hey, help wanted," and we're expecting these kids to come in and just be ready to work. When in fact we are in an industry, I think we're in the sector now that for on the company side, you have to realize is that you have to build your own workforce. For the individual side, there's a certain thing about agency, about selecting your path and taking control of that, because you have to understand where you're the world that you're going into requires something a little different. So let's say, for example, you come out of school as a marketing, you have a degree in marketing. Well, let's be real. Depending on the industry you go in, you know nothing about marketing, to be honest with you. And if you're not ready to show up and learn and study, you are going to fail. And if a company is not set up to train and to develop that individual, you're going to get failure. And that's the misalignment that we're having. And we're having it with the trades and we're having it with college degree students. And I think it's more pronounced with college degrees because I've just paid $80,000 for a degree and I can't get a job. And it's because the job says, hey, here's this description, and you need a college degree to do that. When we know for a fact, it's like, you probably don't need a college degree to do that job. And so this is the problem. I think this is the problem that we're having, is that I'm going to continue to say it's the misalignment of jobs and education that is the central problem that we're having in this country.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
think that there's
Jeff, would you like to counter?
absolutely. I think that there is another thing that is entirely missing. I run a job page on Facebook, and we have 37,000 followers. We're connected to another website that is on Facebook as well. It's Jobs in Chicago. And also there exists Christopher Watts. Between us, we have close to a 500,000 people that we can reach. And because of that, that particular sector is really reliant on us getting the word out compared to them putting out ads and everything else. The parents are the ones that a lot of times are on Facebook and on our particular job pages to be a caveat to their particular family members. And then they join so that they can find out where to go and what to do. So many times, the part that is missing for those companies is to be able to properly use these particular connections so that they can get the right caliber of people. They rely on workforce places and things of that nature, but they're missing the rudimentary step, which is to be able to build relationships with the people who actually advertise what they have.
Hmm.
So that's something that's missing.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to let you all know, we are streaming on all platforms, excuse me. But in order to vote, you must go to the two-sidedtruth.com. The two-sidedtruth.com. Close will polls will be closing in about 2 minutes. So I have a question, James. If nearly 4 in 10 college graduates are underemployed, is the degree still functioning as a reliable readiness signal?
No, I don't think and I don't think that I don't think it ever was. And I think maybe, like I said, maybe for a particular for a particular degree, yes. I think there are specific degrees. So, for example, we hire welding engineers, and we go to Weber State, Ohio State. We get them out of Ferris State. Most of them, when they graduate from those programs, because we bring in many of them as interns, we know that they're 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 being placed. If you go to school for as a welding engineer, I can guarantee you for the most part you will get a job because we only produce about 80,000 weld engineers a year when we need about 150,000. And so we have companies like Miller, Lincoln, even all of the automotive companies are trying to get weld engineers. Those those kids are ready. I mean, when they walk in the plant, they are ready to go. And so, but if I said, for an English major who just graduated and wants to be a teacher, are you ready to be a teacher yet? Probably not. Business, if you're a business analysis, okay, I just got a degree in business analysis. Are you ready to analyze, complex business analytics? Probably not.
So what's the
And
point of the degree though, James?
I
Like
think it's
if
I think
if
it's
they're
always
saying if the employer is saying, "Hey, this is a requirement. We know that you're not ready, but what is the point of the degree?" And they know, especially so for example, they know that a lot of times when kids graduate from college, they complain already that they're not prepared, that they still are not job ready. So what's the point of the degree then if
it's
we
I think
know that they're not
it's
ready?
Yeah, I think it's depending. It depends on the company because I think there are certain companies that know how to go out there and select the kids that they need in the programs that are producing kids. So let's say again, if I go to Ohio State, there are programs at Ohio State that I know I can go in there and grab kids who are ready.
Mhm.
Purdue University, mechanical engineer. If you graduate from Purdue University as a mechanical engineer, I can guarantee you probably have a job. There are business schools at Indiana University. You grab kids out of there. So I think there are programs that do produce them. I think the problem is that you have so many colleges and so many degrees, is that you're flooded with all of these degrees when it used to be fairly rare, like you said, 11% in the early
Mhm.
70s to like 40% now, and it's like I
Where do all of these people
it's like
go?
where
Yeah,
they go
absolutely.
and I think for a lot of companies they just decided that, hey, rather than try to figure if a person is capable of even doing this job, let's just say you need a degree. And it's this lazy thing that they put in that says, let's just, you go through the job descriptions, nothing about the job description says I couldn't I could get someone with an associate's degree to do this job, but you want a degree, you want a 4-year degree. So I think it's twofold. It's the companies, but I think a lot of the schools, and I think we've kind of like sold this miracle degree thing, and now we're paying for it on the back end now.
So we're stuck. Geoff, if
Yes.
degrees, I have a question for you, and I'm sure you see this. If degrees are essential, why do employers consistently report skills gaps among new grads?
Some of it was put in place for systemic racism, believe it or not,
Mhm. Okay.
because many of us were accomplished people in skills based type environments without any degree at all, and were very good at what we did. And then in the 70s, as you said, when this got put in place, it was one place to be able to put one way to be able to put barriers into African Americans, especially getting into the field, and people who are impoverished, not just African Americans, but just people who are impoverished. It was another layer to get through to get to decent economic job, economic upward type jobs. If you want to earn some real good money, they slapped a degree in there and made that a particular qualification where it did not exist before. So
Mm.
that's part of the problem. And then those who went to school and incurred all this debt going to school, they have another issue because there is a lot of a red tape with who you can even converse with, who you can talk to in order to grow into that industry. It's not a very it's not a very receptive industry as far as when you look at middle management and the things that go on that really stop a person from being able to be upwardly mobile in those arenas. It's very hard for them to be able to transcend and actually get the essence of what a person is actually doing. They have to deal with all of the paradigms that exist within the workplace that have nothing to do with the job. So it's so many times that a person who is skilled that could actually participate and do the job, they're not allowed to be able to do it. So I'm hoping that through what I said, you can really it can gravitate that we have a real big issue right now with that part. They're processing people so quick with degrees that they're not working out the a good word would be the dynamics. They're not working out the inner dynamics within the company.
Right.
So you've got a lot of people who are not working out. They end up having to get somebody else. The synergy is not there because it's not just contingent on a degree. It's contingent on having skills and good workplace skills and how to be able to get along with your colleagues and understand things. Your cognitive skills have to be up to par. You have to have a good work attitude, and you can't teach those things. Those people have to come in with those type of abilities. You can prep them, but that's not happening. They run them through. It's a mill. It's a paper mill, and they run them through to get those degrees, get their money, and slap them into a job. And many times they're not prepared.
Thank you
Mhm.
so much. Polls for this topic will be closing in all of 20 seconds. We are moving on to the
Yeah.
next topic. Historical and statistical context. So for the next topic, the next subtopic is, do certifications and boot camps prepare workers faster? So here's the layout. Coding boot camps emerging in the early 2010s to meet tech labor shortages. Many boot camp programs range from 8 to 24 weeks compared to 4 years for traditional degrees. Employer adoption of skills-based hiring has increased significantly since 2020, especially in tech, data, and IT roles. However, credential saturation has grown. Thousands of certifications exist with no universal quality standard. Bootcamp trades depth for speed. Degrees trade speed for depth, for breadth, excuse me. So, with that being said, Geoff, Let's
Yes.
hit on the next subtopic. Do certifications and boot camps prepare workers faster?
Okay. To answer your question, yes, they do. They prepare them faster, and also to deal with the facts that the underlying facts that you've already stated is still depends on the depth of the understanding and what program that you come out of. It's just like you go on the internet and say, "Hey," then somebody says, "Hey, I got this boot camp for you to be able to get AI, and you'll learn 24." No, you have to get under the right program in order to be able to be effectual once you leave that program. But now the facts are though that right now in America we have like about 128 million opportunities to be able to work. It's really higher than that when you include people with disabilities. You got about 44 more million people. But the thing that I wanted to make sure I stressed on is that out of that, and those 45, out of that 128 million, about 40%, as you stated, have degrees. Now, out of that, you've got people who are in industries that are about to close up, but they have the ability to be able to go to a school and already have some of the skill sets that can transcend them lacking having not only a degree, but being able to speed up their entry into the AI workforce. So they have some advantages. Many times, if a person's came out of HVAC or electrician and people of that nature, they can get acclimated to the AI world pretty easily. It just depends and make more money, way more money. As a matter of fact, some of the early uh, prognostications are that they're going to end up making between $110,000 to $140,000 a year within the time that they get to like 2036. They'll be making that type of money if they just stick to using their trade. So I don't know how long it's going to take for the average person to really make that move and be competent, but I know it's going to happen. It depends on our schooling. It depends on there's a lot of other variables other than just being able to just put our hand on it and say, is a person with a degree going to be able to make it in the AI industry? The person doesn't have a degree going to make it in the AI industry. A lot of it is contingent on our schooling and the particular people that are teaching the trade.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for that. James, same question. And before you do, this topic is open for votes. This topic is open for votes. You can only vote on the two-sidedtruth.com. James, you're up.
I am mostly against the boot camps,
Okay.
and I've seen it with coding. I've seen it. There are several welding programs out there because I was saying before. With right now, there are three. We are short 330,000 welders right now, and so and we're in this crisis moment because what I was telling you before, Lisa, is that for every five welders that retire, two come into the industry. Of those two that come into the industry, only one is still welding after 5 years. And there's that attrition rate. So you have this expertise that's retiring, and then you have this high attrition rate on the back end. And so we're in a crisis. And that's why, for my job, why we sell so many robots. But even with all of the robots that we sell, you still need so many welders. Well, now you have all these welding boot camps coming up, and they're 10,000, 15, 20,000 dollars, 6 months. You're a welder, but you know, a lot of the kids cannot pass those. When you walk into a shipyard and they say you have to weld this root pass on this ship, and you just came out of this boot camp, you realize it's like you didn't learn to weld this. You didn't learn to weld the different root passes, the different joints. There's a lot of things that you did not learn. You learned to stick two pieces of metal together. And so it's happened with coding. Lisa, you're an instructional designer. You see all the instructional design boot camps because every teacher wants to leave teaching and go into instructional design. And
Yes.
they realize it's like the job placements are not there. They told you how to, create a Rise course, and now they called you an instructional designer. You're not an instructional designer. You don't know anything about needs analysis. You don't know anything about development. You don't know anything, right? You just know how to build a Rise course.
Mhm.
Well, that's not instructional design. So I would say, for what I tell kids is that, look, go to the community college. When you graduate, start at the community college and start up a certificate program. And here's something that happened. We had a company buy two very complicated robots on the south side of Chicago. They sent a guy to my class who did not know how to copy and paste. He didn't know the concept of copy and paste. So at the end of the week, I called the president of the company. I said, "Hey, this guy can't do it." They were going to send the secretary to the class because she's the only one in the company that knew anything about computers. And I told him, no, go to the community college, grab a kid out of their Weld Tech program. And it took them 2 years to do this. This kid, they grabbed him out of Harper College. He came out of the Weld Tech program, and it's just a 16-month program. He came out of the program. He had the systems up and running in about 6 months. So a 20-year-old kid with a Weld Tech certificate got their machines up and running in a matter of 6 months, and they were down for 2 years.
Wow.
So we know that for this country, the community college represents, I think, one of the fundamental resources that we have for young people to get education. So if you tell me those certificate programs out of the community college, and depending on the community college, of course, but for the most part, I trust kids coming out of community college. I'm not so big about boot camps, especially when you talk about coding. I've looked at into all of the AI boot camps that they have. Even MIT and Harvard's boot camp is
Not good.
trash.
Mhm.
Let's put it's trash. Because it's not aimed at the tech. It's aimed at C-suites. It's aimed at you becoming a consultant. So you're not really actually doing anything. You're consulting. But um, but I'm not with the boot camps. I much prefer that you spend a little time, go to community college. If you're not going to go to the 4-year degree, go to the community college, get your certificate from there.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, would you like
Melissa,
to counter?
Melissa, yeah, I do want to counter on that because myopically he gave a premise, and that's good and fine. But on the grandiose scale, there are a lot of other more competent conversions that they've made with people who need that type of ability and have stressed it by their skill set. I'll give you an example. I was using that a little bit earlier before. You may have a truck driver, right, that play video games, and now he has to convert to being able to be a guider of the trucks and a watcher of the trucks when the trucks go out on the road with no driver, right? Many times those particular individuals have superior skills in knowing how to be able to get that truck into a small area. They've had the ability to be able to do that through video games. And as a matter of fact, I think that we had one NASCAR driver who started off playing video games and ended up winning the one of the races, a black driver just recently. But the point that I want to make is that it is contingent on what arena that you go into. Yes, in welding, super specific. And yes, you need to have some additional skills in order to do it proficiently and not be a failure because it's a churning mill. But you also have various industries in which people can participate in which they are already astute. They just didn't get the opportunity until now with AI. They're being able to transcend the deficiency that they might have had as far as not having a degree. But now they have the skill set to be able to be adaptable and make it into that industry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I
I do
think
want to
if you
say,
told me, okay, I would say this. I think if you
mhm,
told me that the skills you have a certain set of skills, and there's this adjacent skill set that easily transfer over, and you just need that kind of like that, like this is an adjacent skill that I'm adding on to what I already know. I think you
Mhm.
can get it. I think you can use a boot camp for that. But I think you also have to be, I think is that, but I think it's when you say, I know nothing about this, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do an 8 week boot camp, a 16-week boot camp. I I think that's a, from what my experience has been, it's a problem, and I think it's where Lisa said early, like depth versus breadth. I think if the boot camp says, "Hey, we're gonna take this industry, we're gonna narrow it down, and then we're gonna dive deep to a very specific place." So if you told me a boot camp on pipe welding, you're only gonna weld pipe. It's not a welding program; it's a pipe welding program, a pipe fitting program. Okay, I get that. You're going deep into one very specific element of welding. If you tell
And
me it's
skill.
a Python, yeah, you're going to. I'm being very specific on Python for data analytics. Very specific. I then maybe so, but I think when I see a lot of these, uh, become an AI master in 6 weeks,
They have a lot of those out
serious.
there, I tell you.
Yeah, they do.
No,
They do.
no, it's like
They do.
it's not happening. It's not going to happen. And I think that's so I'm of that mindset of like, if you tell me that you're going to be very narrow, very deep, very specific, that that gives a person an edge that says, "Hey, I am a master of this, and now because I've mastered this over a period of time, I can expand on that." So
Okay.
if I'm a pipe fitter, I can eventually learn how to do other types of welding, but right now I'm just only going to weld on pipes, and then I'm going to go down to the shipyards and weld pipes. I
And
think
Lisa,
that'll be perfectly fine.
I want to say one
oh,
thing.
okay.
I do
I'm
want to say
sorry.
one thing. It's okay. I do want to let people know the polls will be closing for this subtopic soon. You can only vote on the two-sidedtruth.com. You can only vote on the two-sidedtruth.com. I do have I have a question for Geoff, and then you can counter James, but it's only going to be 30-second responses for both of you. All right, 30 seconds. All right. Geoff, if a boot camp can prepare someone for a job in 12 weeks, why does the traditional pipeline still take 4 years?
I haven't figured that out myself. The thing is that 4 years is uh, a lot of times too long. You have some people who already have the skill set and can be placed into a job quicker than 4 years. I think that some of that is a ripoff from the college itself. I don't think that all abilities like that take 4 years. But as far as the 4 year um, gap and the ability to make a change with the new individuals that are coming aboard right now, there's an opportunity that has not been taken advantage of as far as us making a transcendence into the last arena that we were talking about when we were talking about like the AI abilities and the people being able to make a change in from one career to another career. There's a big gap for the learning side of it and the preparation side of it. Um, Lisa, I want to make sure now. State that question again because I want to get to the core of it. I want to
If
make
a
sure.
boot camp, yep, if a boot camp can prepare someone for a job in 12 weeks, why
Right.
does the traditional pipeline still take 4 years?
Okay. So they still don't make that gap uh, as far as when you have an individual that goes to a boot camp and they're learning something, it still is not proficient. As I've said before, you have to find the right transcendence. You have to find the right person that has a love for, or a passion for what they're doing, as opposed to just putting them in a boot camp. When we talk about just placing people to to get to another strata to make more money, that's not the passion. That's not the investment. That's not the ability to be able to work your job, do it competently, and enjoy what you're doing. And all
Okay.
that gets missed, and I'm gonna tell you why, is because there are no assessments that are being made adequately. Most of these companies right now do not do proper assessment of the individual. So the boot camp transcends somebody having a degree if you got the right person, yes. But if you
Okay.
don't do your due diligence and make the assessment,
It's
it's
not
not
gonna
going to
work.
work.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. James, can you answer the same question in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, I would say that because I think uh, when you talk about a very specific role and a very specific job descriptions, the boot camp does that. Whereas a degree, if I'm going to for a degree as a marketing specialist or a marketing degree, what I've done is I've opened up the world of marketing, and there's a lot of places I can go. Whereas in the boot camp, is a very specific job role that you're going for. And I think that is the difference. So marketing, if you're in marketing, there's far more things than just writing a blog and just doing content, right? There's research and there's analytics, there is voice of customers, there's all those things. And so all that comes with communication and writing and all that. But it's just the broadness of where you can go with that degree versus the specificity of the boot camp.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Polls for this subtopic will be closing in a few seconds, a few, like probably in the next 30 seconds. Thank you all. Okay, moving along to the last subtopic. Just to give some historical data, past automation waves eliminated some jobs but created others. Manufacturing automation displaced roles but expanded logistics. Engineering and services, but current projections suggest millions of jobs globally may be disrupted by AI in the next decade. Unlike past automation, AI directly impacts white collar and knowledge work, not just manual labor. Jobs most exposed include administrative, customer service, entry level, professional roles, and some creative work. The question is not whether creates jobs, it's who survives long enough to access them. So, our next topic is, will AI create more jobs than it eliminates? And you are up, James.
I love this topic. I just wrote about this today. So here's the thing. And when you've been around a long time, you get to see some things. So um, in the 80s, automation and globalization did a lot of stuff, to for jobs, rural areas, urban areas of the like. If we just take today, and I can just say two companies, Salesforce and Klarna. Klarna said, we're going to be AI first. We're going to take this AI, come in, and they laid off 700 workers. They laid off 700 customer service reps. Within 7 months, they were bringing them back in because they realized it's like, oh, this AI is not good enough. We bought the hype without the capabilities. Salesforce did the opposite. Salesforce, no, we're not going to lay off people, but then Salesforce got their AI working good enough that 1,000 people did lose their jobs, and another total 4,000 lost their jobs, but 1,000 specifically to AI, and a lot of working of other positions. So, will it eliminate more jobs than it creates? More than likely, the trajectory will be just how it was with all technology. More jobs will get created, but it's in the process of the destruction that we go. It's just like how fast does it happen? How well are you at maintaining your expertise as you automate these things? Because we know that even Anthropic, who's an AI company, was talking about skill atrophy, where it says, hey, my junior coders have so much work happening with doing the AI is doing so much coding that they're kind of losing that muscle memory. And so, what's going to happen to this expertise when this AI messes up down the road? And I need experts who understand the code. And this is some of, and but this is not new. And I think that's the framing I'm going to put into play. There is an there was a research that back in the 80s, 1983. It is called The Ironies of Automation, and it took place after the Pan Am crash, where they automated so much in the cockpit that when an emergency took place, the pilots didn't understand how to react, and the plane crashed. The same thing is happening with AI, is that you as a company will have to figure out, hey, if I automate this, how, and I want to have human in the loop, well, what am I developing underneath to ensure that I have people who are capable of being in the loop? That's going to be the question. The question is going to be how we respond to this. If we do the same thing we did in the 80s and 90s, or if we actually learn from the 80s and 90s and do something different. But overall, more jobs will get created. There will probably be a lot of destruction and flipping along the way. I think the pace of it is going to be the problem. And if we're a country that's not willing to really look at this and go and really push it, I think we're going to have a problem.
Thank you so much for that, James. Jeff,
It's funny
lay
how
out your
even though
argument.
we're supposed to be taking these opposing sides, a lot of this is congruency. Because it still actually comes down to being able to have uh, the transcendence to get in from one part of your old work habit and then to transcend into something that you know how to do with AI. So it's that matching, that pairing is imperative on whether those jobs are actually going to reach what they have projected. They're going to eliminate a lot of jobs, but you can transcend that by learning the particular skill and learning where your credentials lie. If you get your credentialing in something that you're comfortable with and already know how to do, it's going to be an easy fix. You can slide over. But if you can't do that, then you're going to lose out. So it really comes down to whether somebody, when AI creates more jobs, it may be in another area, another arena, and you have to be astute. You have to be well bred for that particular opportunity before it happens. Now, some people have the aptitude to be able to learn new things and still be able to excel. But for the most part, the ones who have survived thus far in the AI environment are people who have already been comfortable and in knowing some things and then just added on to what they were doing. So as far as them creating more jobs than it eliminates, it's a 50-50 thing. It's not written in concrete. It's just not.
Okay, thank you so much. The polls are open, you all. If you want to vote, this is the last subtopic. You must vote at the two-sidedtruth.com, the two-sidedtruth.com. James, would you like to counter?
No, I think he was. I think he's right because from what I've seen, is that um, the issue there are several issues that are taking place. Is like, so 2025, right, was supposed to be this year of the agents, and all these agents was going to come up, and what you found out is that they're not ready, right? The technology is not ready. And then if you understand architecture, if you understand structure, you can produce really good outputs
Mhm.
with the AI. But you have to understand architecture. And so what's happening is that even today, I had several days ago, I had this guy tell me, "Hey, I built this system that replaced your entire marketing team." And then I took a look at it, and it's like, well, no, this is only producing blog posts and social media posts. And he said, and then it does marketing research. And it's like, well, let me see the marketing research. It's like, well, you're only searching a company's website. It's like, That's not market research. I mean, we have when we do market research, we have there's a whole system that we go through. We, story stacking and 5 Ps, all type of stuff and so the same thing with training, right? Hey, develop this training with one click of a button by uploading your PDF. um, you didn't ask any questions. It's like, as an instructional designer, the first thing I would ask is like, well, who is this training for? Do I actually even need training? What are the underlying problems here? You're just clicking a button, producing something, and all the learning science things that we know about deliberate practice, and none of that is in the place. So AI is a great tool, but it's a great tool in the hands of someone who's an expert in their field, and it is a great tool for someone who has a point of view. And so I can't get AI to write like me because I have a strong point of view. um it wants to be kind of all it likes to be neutral, and I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. It's like, I don't give a shit about hurting people's feelings, right? You can't write. And I tried to get it to write my F-bomb laden movie reviews, but it just couldn't. It would not produce enough F-bombs. It's like it's like so but the truth of the matter is that the problem is that you're going to have these people talking to the folks in the C-suite, and the folks in this and the consultants and McKinsey and Gartner and Deloitte. They're going to be talking about how to the ROI and the head counts and all of those things, and those guys are going to buy it because they're looking at the next quarterly outcomes, and they're going to end up damaging. Because again, Klarna did it. I think Meta just laid off their whole AI staffing, but that was a totally different thing. That was kind of a realignment. So I see a lot of that taking place because Amazon, what they're doing with their company, they're realizing that their AI people that they have aren't expert in the type of AI that they need. And so so you hear the story that says, hey, they're laying off their AI researchers. That's because their AI researchers aren't specialized in the type of AI that they're trying to develop. And now they're realizing is that, hey, we may not need as many researchers anyway because the biggest bottleneck is compute power. We need to build data centers. And in building data centers, and if you are a welder, if you are a HVAC guy, building data centers is where money is going to get made for the trades. you know, but even then,
And
that's
the
a bottleneck
specific,
too
yeah.
because they can't build enough. They can't build the data centers enough because staffing is the issue, water is the issue, climate is the issue, um, skills. I don't have enough skilled laborers to build at the pace that we need to build at. So um, AI is going to be a problem on all different aspects of our economy. The biggest one, I believe, will come from the C-suites. I
And
think
and
No,
and are you saying
look,
that the C suites are the issue because they really don't understand the depth of it? They think that it's a cure all versus, hey, it's just replacing some task. It doesn't necessarily replace skills.
well,
if
Lisa, I do want to add this though. Excuse me,
Okay, go
just
ahead.
1 second, Jay.
Mhm.
It
go ahead.
just depends. I'm gonna give you an example. Google's coming here to Chicago, right? Google has training for their specific company, so they can weed through and get the proper people to be able to do the task that they want in relation to AI. But that's where many of these companies are failing at. It's not that we could not transcend and get to another point where it could create more jobs. It can create more jobs. But as he said, and as I've said, we can't argue on this point. The people have to have the ability to make the transcendence. They have to be able to go from point A to point B, and it has to be some type of love there. I'll give you an example, just a very minute example. The chat bots that we see every day. Some people made transitions from being in customer service to a chat bot. They could do it. It was easy for them. But there are other people, they could not make that type of transition. And that's just on a very, very small scale. that I'm giving you as far as an example is concerned. But I hope it's germane to the people that are out there. Almost everybody's had an experience with a chatbot. So it really comes down to those companies actually doing their due diligence. They're not doing the right assessments right now. I feel there are not enough assessments for that. And then when you do assessments, you have to worry about, are you going to be ostracized because of who you are, as opposed to the skill set that you have. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Polls will be closing in the next minute or two. All right. I have some questions. 30 seconds for James. Um, Historically, new jobs emerge, but what happens when reskilling and timelines are faster than human adaptation?
Mm. You know what? And see, this is why I said this is about the 80s, right? Same thing happened in the 80s. The jobs moved out faster than you can upskill, and then you realize it's like the plant that closed, there were no other jobs to replace it, no skilling and everything like that. That is going to be a problem. I think one of the things, if you are concerned, this is where agency comes into play, right? That we're in the world where every individual has to take control of their career. And so if you want to learn something, I would say that yes, this is where AI would be perfectly suited for. I just go on Notebook LM, I collect all of my data and say, create me podcasts and create me white papers and create me case studies. And so teach me how to do this stuff. So whatever you want to learn, you can learn. And you're just going to have to go out there and do it yourself, because we're you're going to have to take agency over your own career, because no one is there's no company, no government policy or anything like that that's really going to drive it. You're going to have to drive it yourself.
Okay. All right. Geoff, I have one question for you. When it comes to reskilling and AI, who should pay for reskilling when AI makes roles obsolete?
Well, the rescaling should actually still be taken on by the company. They have to make an investment. They really do. And sometimes the person who is making the investment in themselves, because a lot of those courses are so cheap, and there is so little, as far as financially that you have to put up based on the rewards and the gains that you're going to have. It could be a mixture of the two. Um, it just depends. If I'm already with a corporation and I want to keep my personnel and I just want them to go to another part of the business that I'm expanded on, then yes, I should make the investment. But if it's somebody who just wants to get into the industry themselves, then they have to do their due diligence, go ahead and pay, because you got to look at it. For even 2 years of getting a degree, you're going to be at about $20,000 to $40,000 in 2 years, and then we're not even including housing or nothing like that. You do some credentialing, you get some AI, certifications and things of that nature. You may pay no more than $1,500. Sometimes a little bit more. It depends on what you go into, like in cybersecurity or something like that. Depending on what strategy you dump yourself off in. But for the most part, a lot of these you can get for two, three, $400 just to
Mhm.
even get into that particular industry on the rudimentary level. So as long as you're
Yeah.
on the low level and work your way up, you know, eh, that's
I know.
that's that's the key. That
I'm
is
going
the
to make
key.
myself available to teach people AI if they buy me a bottle of wine. I'm going to do that, because I look at these courses. It's like I can show you that. Give me 2 hours and a bottle of wine, a good bottle. We're not talking Aldi. We are talking Trader Joe's. So so
But
Awesome.
yeah,
yeah.
then they just have to get placed. That's the hard part.
But- well, here's the deal. And I think people should understand this. You are not going to AI is AI is not going to be the thing that gets you hired. Your domain expertise with AI will
Mhm.
get you hired. That is your superpower. Your superpower is still the fact that it is. You look at all of these AI videos, like the movies and stuff that are being made. Look at an AI movie that's developed by someone who has a film credentials, who understands filmmaking, and then look at an AI movie with someone who doesn't. They are drastically different. they are drastically different. Look at AI writing by someone who knows how to write versus someone who says, hey, just give me an article. Vastly different. So the people who have domain expertise, they can use AI to basically elevate what they do. And I think that's going to be the critical thing. And like you said, Geoff, for companies, it is when you put in AI and you start automating things, what you have to do is that you have to look at what are the consequences of automating this, because I have this junior developer that I want to become a senior developer. If I automate all the junior reps and friction that used to produce expertise, I then have to replace that with training, with mentoring, with some other things to make sure that when I hire this junior, he does become an expert, even though I'm automating part of the task that he does. So we actually have a program to how to decompose your job description, so you can ensure that these points right here are maintained, so you can produce experts in your company. Because
That's
without
almost like
that,
an assessment, right? It's almost like an assessment, right?
yeah, you're,
Yeah.
you're looking at the
Hmm.
assessment. So say, what are the
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
the things in your job that says, of these 10 tasks, these are the three that most likely produce expertise. How do I put the human in the loop to ensure that that expertise maintains? So in 5 years, I in welding, like I said, 5 retiring, 2 come in, 1 leaves. That's, in 5 years, that's 5 to 1, right? I got 5 retired, I got 1 welder. What
Yep.
what happens with all that expertise?
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Our debate is complete. I want to thank you both so much for coming on and providing us your expertise. And of course, we do have a winner. Today's winner is Geoff Watts.
Oh,
Geoff,
wow.
awesome. Great
Hey, James is a
job.
winner to me as well. He's a winner.
Everybody's a winner.
Everybody's a
Everybody's a
winner.
winner because you came on the show and you
No, he's
provided us your
cold though. He's
time and your
cold.
expertise. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Geoff, you are gifted a gift certificate to one of our sponsors, the Flipside with Lisa Tracy or Shanghai Apparel. I'd like to thank you all once again for debating with us. Thank you for our audience for tuning in. To our audience that tuned in, you are truthers. I want to let you all know that. For those of you all who subscribe to the Two-Sided Truth, thank you for that. Join us for our next week's debate. Our topic of debate will be on the U.S. capture of President Maduro. Tune in as P.O. Haynes
Ooh-wee.
and Danny Miller debate, was the strike justified or did it violate international law? If you want to keep this conversation going, or you want to keep conversations going like this, check out our newsletter, The Flipside with LisaTracy.com. We bring you 2 perspectives to both sides of the story before you make your conclusion. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like us on YouTube. Thank you all so much, and I appreciate you, and I'm really excited that you all came. Have a great evening.